Hey guys, Hitoretrogaming here, and you are here for our first episode of the Retrograde. Thank you so much, Manxalot, for the host. I appreciate it. Shellshock, thank you for the host as well. So, today on the Retrograde, we are going to be doing a podcast. Every Tuesday, May 4th, well, every Tuesday in general, we'll be doing a podcast on very retro topics. Today, I have two very cool guests that we'll be doing our podcast for, which is going to be great. We're doing classic Nickelodeon shows, like shows in the 90s, 2000s-ish right there. You know, things that we've grown up with since then. As you can see, we have a really cool tier list that we'll be doing as well. That will be for later, though. Trust me, it will be. But I'm going to introduce our first guest first. Let me unmute myself. I'm going to introduce our first guest, which is MarsyTheMartian. So let's see if we can connect with her for a sec. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. Little transmission. And there we go. Boom. Marsy.
Me?
Yeah, you. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, we got a little voice static going along with our visual static, but happy to report in. Hello, thank you for having me.
So, Marsy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born in 1990. Definitely not here on Earth. Definitely on Mars. Normal Martian time. Non-Earth life. No, the majority of my early childhood years were formed by watching Nickelodeon and making jokes with my friends. I've carried that on into my later life, and eventually cartoons turned into like the little games that they would put on, Nick.com, SpongeBob, Catch the Jellyfish kind of stuff. Those were my first platformers. That moved me on to retro stuff, and then of course Nickelodeon advertising, that good old N64. Brought me into gaming, love games, started making art for games. Now I make art for games. You can find me doing that on my Twitch. Came full circle with that one.
Yep. There you. Oh, thank you. You came full circle. I was gonna actually plug yourself. You got it. You got this. You came full circle. Got it. So yeah, that's MarsyTheMartian, and I got our second transmission for ShellshockPrime. Just trying to get this put together, and boom, Shellshock, you're on.
Hey everyone, it's me, Shellshock, and I was born in 1986, and I've been watching Nickelodeon since '89. I was like 2 or 3 years old around that time, and I've been into it for like so long, and watched so many great shows on there. Been into video games since 1990 with the NES, with the Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt cartridge. That's the one I started with, and honestly, I'm just happy to be into video games, be into Nickelodeon, and there we go.
There we go. And we have ShellshockPrime, who does all of this really cool content on his Twitch as well. Everything. Shagirl Wizard, thank you for the raid. Birthday raid from Shagirl Wizard. First things first, I have to give a shout out to
Wheel of Fortune. What just happened to them?
Oh, right, I forgot. We're supposed to have a little clip right here. I forgot to put that there. Go? Oh, hold on, I got it. We got it. No, because we have a clip, because we get like the random clips and stuff like that. Shout out clip right here, and then there we go. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Let's do that shout out one more time for Shagirl Wizard, just to so we can see how it actually looks. And Shagirl Wizard, happy birthday! Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it so very much.
Can I just bail on it? Should I just bail on it? I'm here for fun. I've got to do it though because it's the next story mission. Ugh. I just want to get hit by a car, but in like a fun way. I just want to do the insurance fraud one. I just want to
get hit by a car in a fun way. I'm like, is there a fun way? Okay. Am I not aware of this?
We're gonna do this and maybe not explode, maybe. That's not the button I meant to press. I'm
like, is there a fun way of losing a car? Is there a fun way to get into a car crash? Did I not know about this? Listen, it literally was like, I want to lose my car, but in a girl, I have no idea. You know what? Fair. All right, so as you know, today's topic is Nickelodeon. And today we're going to be going into the nitty-gritty of 90s and 2000s Nickelodeon shows. So, to start us off with the very fair question, and guys, we will be answering everything in the chat as well. I once watched Nickelodeon. I'm sure you did, Danny and Stereo. I do believe you've seen Nickelodeon. But to start us off with our guest, what was your favorite Nicktoon? And I'm gonna throw the ball at Shell.
My favorite Nicktoon is Rocko's Modern Life. I absolutely love all the characters that they had in the show, especially Filbert Turtle or Filbert Shellback. He is my spirit animal. I absolutely love him so much. Because you turn the page, you wash your hands. Turn the page, wash your hands. Turn the page, wash your hands. And then you turn the page, and then you wash your hands. And I also happen to like a lot of the settings, the fact that every single character in the show are all animals in some shape or form, and no humans in the show. Except for that 1 foot character that shows up. I forgot his name, but he shows up every once in a while. That and also the fact that all the humor resonated with me, but there was a lot of humor I did not get until when I was older, and I'm like, how did I not get this? Maybe we're not supposed to get it. And also, honestly, I think in my opinion, like one of the best episodes is Wacky Deli.
I will say this, like, I have a question about adult humor in Nickelodeon right after this one, which is going to be very, very funny. Let's see which one will catch it. But Marzy, what was your favorite Nicktoon?
Probably definitely Hey Arnold. I could just still quote the episodes, and I think I learned a lot and formed a lot of my morals based on Arnold's character. Being the same age as him and kind of growing up with him from like 2nd to 5th grade, where I was really having those formative years, was really important. So like humor aside of like loving Abner and like grandma being a little bit out there, and having just the depth of character and getting to know people and see them actually grow instead of seeing people be repetitive in their roles. You know, like you see alcoholics recover, you see abusive relationships turn into better ones or split apart. Like you see progress made in Hey Arnold. So as much as I think about it, I always keep going back to that one as my #1 spot.
All right. And for everyone reference here, my top Nicktoon is Rugrats. I loved it so much. Babies doing really weird things throughout the day, letting imagination take over, but also I love the raw naivety of the babies, because at the end of the day, it's like it answers the questions that adults nowadays cannot handle. Like, why can't boys wear dresses too? Why are women treated differently than men in the workplace? Why do we have, like, these are really good questions. And to a baby, it's like, yeah, why is the problem? And I love that, because when you think about it at such a young age, when you think of it as a child, it sets the bar really high for you, and it gives you those types of morals. So I know Rugrats gave me that whole entire like mindset of like, hey, why is it like this? Why can't everyone just be equal and do their own thing? And it gives you that equal opportunity of thought process where it's like, hey, we're all people. What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that as a baby is really good, but at the same time, when you grow older, like, oh, these are the differences. I don't like to be a part of these differences, but at the same time, I just wish we can all treat each other the same.
Yeah.
And that's literally why I enjoy Rugrats. So, this is where the next part comes into our question, and this is where it's gonna get ridiculous. Also, guys, just for a reference in chat for everyone here, because I want chat to be able to also participate as well. If you have any questions regarding Nicktoons and such, if you have a favorite Nicktoon, write it down in the chat. We will be answering your questions in chat, because we're not gonna be able to hit every single question, but we're gonna always try to at least answer the questions in chat, me, Marzy, and Shell. So that's the good part right there. We can talk about Nickelodeon all together. What is your favorite Nicktoon? Write that down in the chat and see. I want to see your answers. I'm curious what your favorite Nicktoon was. I'm very curious.
Oh,
But continuing, so now this is where that question was going to come in with the adult humor. What was one joke in your favorite Nicktoon that took you forever to realize it until you're an adult?
Oh my gosh.
That's easy for me. So there was this fast food restaurant in Rocco's Modern Life called Choky Chicken, and I didn't even know it was an adult reference until like way later in my life. And I was wondering, like, randomly, like in the sometime in the last season, they renamed it to Chewy Chicken because eventually Nickelodeon somehow caught on with the name Choky Chicken. And I'm like, I don't understand. I didn't understand at the time, like my innocent, like 6 or 7 year old self didn't even know why it was named that. I'm not gonna actually go by with the reason what it is here, but I will say this. It's, let's just say, to sum it up, it's a sex joke. It's a sex joke. That's what it is. And would a 6 or 7 year old me actually get that? No, I would not. Like, the fact that they actually did that, and it took like until season 4 for Nickelodeon to catch on to that and change it. Like, wow. But that's definitely like the easiest adult joke I could think of for my favorite show.
Let's see. What about you, Marzy? Did you catch any adult humor in Hey Arnold?
In Hey Arnold, probably. Can I think of anything off the top of my head? No. But when someone brings up adult humor, it always takes me right to two different kinds of relationships. The one between the parents and Jimmy Neutron, and Cosmo and Wanda had some just like, I wouldn't say questionable. I would say as a kid, it just makes you kind of roll your eyes. These couples were open. They talked about their sex lives. They wanted to go have their own personal parents' time or their own personal fairies' time. They had a history and they weren't afraid to talk about it. But sometimes as a kid, it's like, you're just completely missing it. You're just waiting for the parents to get off screen. So those little eyebrow raises are like really obvious now. But back then I was not picking up on it at all. I was like, okay, Jimmy's dad is really weird. Why is he, like, as a young person who was not as like morally and intelligently developed, basically, I was like, well, he's not very manly. I guess that's just what kind of character he is. He's a bit wussy, and his son is a scientist. But now I'm understanding that the mother was just the dominant one in the relationship. It was completely healthy. There was nothing wrong with the father. He wasn't wussy. He wasn't not a man. Like, they just had this interaction, and sometimes it was very yes dear, and she would drag him by the ear or the shirt collar, and sometimes then it would get he'd have a little smile on his face instead of being like, so it was like he enjoyed the punishment. So there was like that little bit of BDSM thing going on there. And Cosmo and Wanda had about the same thing in Fairly Odd Parents, where they just really hinted at the fact that Wanda was in control of this relationship, and Cosmo was completely okay with that in and out of the castle. Let's just say in and out of the fishbowl.
In and out of the fishbowl, I'll take that. I believe one of the funniest ones when it came to adult humor was in Rugrats, because you hear Grandpa Lou talking about the kids like, okay, I brought us some videos. Reptar come home. Reptar redux. And then later at night, lonely space fixins. But that's after you go to bed. And I'm just like, wait. And as a kid, I'm like, why? And then when I realized it when I was a lot older and I was rewatching the series, because, you know, Hulu exists, I'm like, oh, Grandpa Lou's watching pornography after the kids go to bed. Awesome. Good to know. Not at all kind of a... So yeah, it was very funny for me, at least. I was just like, oh, I had that mind click moment as a kid, and I'm just like, oh no. All right, so now here's another thing that goes into, so Imagination Artists gave us like a really good list of Nickelodeon shows, and I think we can all agree that As Told by Ginger was very underrated, but it was really good. It went into a lot of empowerment at its time, where I think I still remember one episode where the students were standing up to a very horrible teacher, and I'm like, we needed more of that, because like I said, as an educator myself, I personally found it like very empowering to see some of the students actually stand up to a teacher that's not so great to her students. So that was actually really cool. I think if anything, so I'm still thinking about some of the other stuff that's going on here. So I'm gonna give this one to Marzi. Did you used to watch Invader Zim?
Oh, absolutely.
What was one of your favorite parts of Invader Zim?
Oh my gosh, my favorite parts. The ice cream truck. In the first episode, when there's the first chase through town, when like Jonah's really showing off like what he wants the movement in the show to be like, and all of a sudden you just hear, "You like ice cream, you love it, you cannot exist without ice cream. Whose was this evil plan? You must consume ice cream." I think that was the perfect dystopian humor, because yeah, that ain't wrong. That's all. Like, as funny as that was as a kid, as much as they played that first episode and that little sound bit was drilled into my head, it really just set up that they're going to be blunt here. And it's not going to be wrong. They're not being blunt to be funny. They're being blunt because the writer, Jonan Vasquez, thinks that we're living in like a giant consumerist pit. And so everything from there on out, my favorite things were just the open stabs, like the Taco Hut, the weird gas stations, the weird science center that the dad ran, all these places just completely exploitive. And this alien just standing there being like, "Hello, these are completely exploitive." And everyone else just walking around like, "La-di-da, of course it is. You like ice cream." That sells me on it every time.
All right, for Shell, I got Cat Dog.
For Cat Dog, one of my favorites. It was actually part of like the second segment of the first episode, where they went to this taco place, which for whatever reason, Cat Dog was banned because of Rancid Rabbit, who was the CEO of the place. And every time, I forgot what's the name of that one friend that kept trying to get them in. But because it's been a while since I watched the show, but what happened is that they've been trying to get in so they can get some taco stuff. And what happened was that they keep getting kicked out because they were not allowed to be in the taco place, because Rancid Rabbit hates Cat Dog for whatever reason and didn't want them in there. So they would do everything they can, scheme in order to sneak their way in, just so they can go to that taco bar in the taco place to get all you can eat stuff. And eventually it got to the point where Rancid Rabbit's gone too far, then he was out, and the friend that was trying to get them in became promoted and allowed Cat Dog to come back whenever they want. But they were full at the end. They were full of all the taco stuff and the burrito.
Remember that. They were the size of it.
They were
Yes.
They were huge. They were really huge.
A lot of taco huts in these cartoons. Like, many of them had a taco hut.
All right. Next up, I think I'm gonna try and do We're gonna talk about the raunch that was Ren and Stimpy that had to get moved to Spike TV. Okay. Now, Ren and Stimpy was just euphemism after euphemism, and to this day, I can never take sawing logs very seriously anymore.
Log.
Like, that, I can't take it seriously anymore, because after watching Ren doing that to Stimpy in a very, very heavy motion, if you know what I mean, at that point, it's like, okay. And then I also got thrown off by, like, the meat dude who literally sat in a tanning bed and literally just, like, barbecue sauce himself into like a tan, and I'm like, what? I
remember that.
All right, So let's adjust. First off, hi Izzy, welcome to the podcast. Danny and Serio gave us a big one saying, I didn't have Sky growing up. That's our equivalent of cable. So in terms of Nick shows, I did watch. It was whatever happened to be on the free TV channels. So I saw Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, Rugrats, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Rocko's Modern Life. I didn't actually see a lot of the others until I got quite a bit older. Ooh. Well, that works here, and all good here. Episode 1. Yes, the first podcast, Izzy. First podcast. We're talking about classic Nickelodeon shows. If you have any Nickelodeon shows you used to watch as a kid, by all means, write them in the chat. We are literally going into it. We are diving into the Retrogade today. But
yes,
all in all together, I'm excited to continue this. So, when it comes down to Nicktoons, and this is where it's going to get crazy. Now, with Nicktoons, we also had our live action shows. We had our live action shows. So this time, Marzy, you're gonna start us off with this one. What was your favorite live action show on Nickelodeon?
I settled on Drake and Josh. I can't explain it. I feel like if you've watched Drake and Josh, I might not need to explain it. It's memeable. It was memeable before I knew what memes were. It was quotable before I was quoting anything else. It was absurd, mixing of all the different kinds of humor, like physical and comical. It was the start of my relationship with Jerry Trainer, who is now just like my actual comedic idol. He was like the Spencer and iCarly is mostly where people know him from. But yeah, it's Drake and Josh all the way. Like the relationships are great, but it made me laugh my ass off. Really, that's what it was, and that was important. I needed that.
I'm still quoting to this day, Drake. Where's the door? Where's the door? Oh, I drew it with magic marker. I'm like, I was gonna buzz it off. Well, why don't you get the buzzsaw? I'm gonna.
No,
I see the problem. Oh, do ya? Oh man, Shell, what was your favorite live action Nickelodeon show?
My favorite live-action Nickelodeon show happens to be The Adventures of Pete and Pete, because you have these two brothers with different adventures of their own. Sometimes they're in the same adventure. Pete has his best friend, I believe it's Ellen. I think that's her name. But people always confuse the two of them as being in a relationship when they're not. And then you would have like all these crazy characters. Like, for example, you would have the bully who happens to come in. I believe his name was Pitstain, who always had a huge hatred towards Big Pete. And then you have Little Pete, who has like this tattoo of like this. I forgot what it was. I think it was Petunia. I don't remember what the name of it was. It's been a long time. But he was famous for having a tattoo. And the mother had like this weird plate that she was known for. And what I always remember is that they had this one character on the show who was so off the wall, over the top. I absolutely loved him. And when he went away, I felt sad. And his name is Artie, the strongest man in the world. Such a great character. Very well written for what he is. But then he ended up leaving the show like a few seasons in, and then I was sad. But I love so many of the episodes when Pete was just dealing with like Big Pete was mostly dealing with like his high school issues and all that stuff, and all not to mention when they went on the road and they competed against this one other family to be the king of the road. So much good stuff right there. But it started off as shorts before it became a show.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, though it's originally just started off as just Pete, but without the Little Pete. The Little Pete came a little later, and then they started introducing stuff. Fun fact: Big Pete, he was in both Home Alones. He was Kevin's brother, one of Kevin's brothers.
I didn't know that actually. So
and Little Pete would go on to be an all that.
So I just realized something. I never heard of Salute Your Shorts as a kid.
Oh man, that's a good one too.
I never got a chance because I didn't have. I was in the same situation as Danny was where it came to like cable not being like apparent after like 3rd grade. I saw all the Nickelodeon stuff, but legitimately when my cable cut out, and it was like, well, I guess I'm not watching my favorite shows anymore. However, I was caught up with Rugrats and everything through the movies, which I'll get into that in a second. But
yeah,
my favorite live action was The Amanda Show. Because 1, the skits were random and crazy. 2, I was really into claymation back then. And they had the little claymation segments where you just see Amanda going crazy, stuffing the teacher in the globe, and then just kicking her out of the classroom, claymation style. And Moody's point to this day will still be the best cliffhanger ever in a Nick show. Like the best cliffhanger ever. Like, this is the real Moody, and then nothing. Just oof. I was like, how could you do this to me? How could you leave me on the edge of my seat? And then I remember most of those teen shows get cut off like that too, and I'm like, I hate it here. I hate it here.
It was supposed to be a spinoff that they were going to actually work on that, and then like it never happened.
Also, if you loved PlayStation 1 games, the ending of the Amanda Show has one of the theme songs from Spyro. So that would be the funny thing right there. Amanda's ending is Wizard's Peak in Spyro the Dragon, because the same artist, Stuart Copeland, composed the ending for the Amanda Show, but was also the composer for Spyro the Dragon. So that will still keep going into that day, like one of the best sections for me to go into. And Shell, thank you for showing it. I'm gonna actually do this to throw everyone off just for a second, just to throw them off just for a second. Now I have to throw y'all off. Here we go. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about right here. Like, it's literally like the theme song, and you'll hear it.
Oh boy, here we go.
So that's the song that they used to like do the ending of the show. However, Copeland was a very good genius, and they don't realize at the end of it, like the last 5 seconds, they added the Amanda part to it, because it was pretty easy to do it from there. And Son, thank Son, you sweet bean, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it so much. But yeah, that is literally like the whole thing right there, and that was like, wow, okay. And I thought as a kid I was going crazy, and the kids were calling me crazy, like, oh yeah, there's no way there's that much of a connection. And then there was that much of a connection, and I'm like, oh.
It's there.
Like, it's there. So it was just upsetting to see that happen. I was like, well, I'm happy I was right about this. There was that moment of I was happy I was right about this. I was like, yes.
Right, that's where that satisfaction comes from. I feel like there's a very astute group of kids who are just like, hey, I swear this is like this. This is the connection. And then 20 years later, that's why we're here doing podcasts.
Exactly.
We were the right ones.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I was right, damn it. I was like, I was not going insane. That's literally what it was. All right, so we talked about live action Nickelodeon, and we've talked about Nicktoons, but as a child, did you also grow up with Nickelodeon as Nick Jr.?
Yes.
So I'm going to save mine for last, because mine should be obvious what my favorite one is. My favorite Nick Jr. show, at least. So, Shell, you're going to start the floor on this. What was your favorite Nick Jr. show?
Well, they had like this one show with all these like Muppet-like characters in a castle. They would have some cartoon segments in there, but it was mostly like just puppeteers and puppets and all that. The name of the show is called Eureka's Castle, which that show lasted from like 1989 to about like 92, I believe. But it was on reruns for years. But it would have a really great intro where you see like this giant just walking in, and then he plays the music because he plays the music box, which is Eureka's Castle. It's a music box, and you have like these great characters. That you have the bat, you have the dragon who is named Magellan. You also have Eureka herself, who is like the main character of all this. You have a bunch of other cool characters. So you have the statues that sing. You have all these other crazy things, but I love it. They would have so many random cartoons, but it was a great show. And I have a fun fact for you. This may not be exactly Nickelodeon related, but the person who portrayed Magellan, he went on to become the Bear in the Big Blue House.
Oh.
Yes. Same guy.
Mika Pachi says, I remember the special Don't Open That Box.
Don't Open That Box. Yes, I do remember that one. It's been years since I've seen it. It was a great one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so Marzi, your favorite Nick Jr. Your favorite Nick Jr. show.
Okay, just to be quick about it, I don't remember a lot of it, but I loved Maggie and the Ferocious Beast as the animated one. It was like a little redheaded girl, and she had a big yellow monster with red spots. It was really wholesome. I would just sit there and like just eat snacks and stare at the TV and watch this. So I like zoned out to that. But I actually got into a Nick Jr. live action series when I was older. It was Lazy Town.
Lazy Town.
I feel like I don't need to say again. It's like, if you know, you know, like Stefan Stephenson, R.I.P., Robbie Rotten. I don't know why I was into this, but it was like a comfort zone. I wasn't into it because of the storylines. I wasn't into it because it was like mature. Yeah, it was funny, but it was mostly just this world they'd created. The juxtaposition between puppet and girl dressed like puppet. How old is she? Probably old enough to be doing this, but she looks like she's about 8. Really threw me off, created this crazy fantasy world. And I was like, Friends, other teens, Lazy Town. And everyone was like, are you 12? Are you child? I was like, well, yeah, come on, Nickelodeon. But yeah, so it was Lazy Town. Stuck with me then, still with me now.
Yeah, I've never seen Lazy Town, and because that was way after my time. Like I was way older, like out of the demographic for that.
All right, so my favorite Nick Jr. should be obvious because of what I am wearing today. My favorite is Brother Bear. I mean, not Brother Bear, Little Bear. I loved Little Bear. I was talking about Brother Bear on Disney the other day, so that kind of popped up. But Little Bear was my favorite. It was very good. It was a whole storybook. It was a whole storybook type of show. It was like I was reading a book while watching television. Same with Franklin, which was also on Nick Jr. But Brother Bear will always be that prime, really cool animation, storybook animation. It was amazing, and honestly, I always wanted to get like a hug from Little Bear. I'm like, can I get a hug, please? Like, you're very soft and furry. Like, come on, please. Like, it was an amazing show, and I will always shoot. Listen, parents these days will have their kids grow up with Caillou, and I'm like, no, Little Bear, you learn lessons. Caillou cries and gets what he wants, and I'm like, no, that's not how we do things here.
I'm not too familiar with Caillou.
Yeah.
And all I remember is him having the mumps with his human friend. But
I remember that one. And I had a feeling you were going to say Little Bear, Hito. I just knew it.
I wonder what could have, you know, told you that Little Bear was my favorite Nick Jr. show.
Like whenever I was off from school around the time, like my brother would watch Little Bear because he was a couple of years younger than me, so he was still watching Nick Jr. Whereas like I wasn't really was only just watching just to get through whatever shows, because it was not really for me personally, because I was kind of growing out of Nick Jr. around that time. And the funny thing is that the three of us had all shows we wanted to watch. None of us said Blue's Clues.
None of us said Blue's Clues. But here's the thing, though. Do we have to say Blue's Clues? I mean, we all saw it. It was there. It was there.
Blue's Clues was like Shell was saying, and that's really interesting. Some of these shows I know better than shows I love, simply because they were on between, and I had to get through them to go to the next show. I call those transition shows.
Yeah.
For me, I watched every episode of Blue's Clues because it was a transition show out of my sister's block. She was a little bit younger, and into my block. So yeah, definitely worth mentioning though. Go Steve, Paprika.
Yes, I will say this though. Since the holidays coming up, I remember the one episode from Blue's Clues, which was the Mother's Day episode, and that was like a really sweet like Mother's Day episode going on. So I really that's the one episode that reminds me of Blue's Clues, because it was that Mother's Day episode. It was very special. It was like, oh, Steve is trying to find his mom, and you know, also leading these clues that lead up to his mom. It was really adorable, since Mother's Day was coming up, and I was like, oh, this is really cool for kids. You know, this is awesome. And then as a kid, I was like, oh, I'm for it. Let's do this. I love this episode. Let's search for Mama. So that's
Very
what it was. Let me catch up with chat just a little bit. Right, we got here. Everyone was like, "You guys missed Blue's Clues." Everyone's like,
"Oh, no."
But we know it. We know Blue's Clues. Trust me, it was a really good show. But we have the ones that tingle our hearts right there, which was do that. And I don't think anyone also mentioned the Tales of Richard Scarry. Which it's been a while for those. Remember the remember the Apple car with the worm in it? It was just like, yes, we got to do that.
Yeah, like for me, like since I'm like the oldest out of all of us here, like there's some shows that I do remember watching on Nick Jr. that most people probably don't remember unless they were born around my time. Like for example, there was one where like it was like Grimm's Fairy Tale Adventure, which was basically like from Japan. And then they localized it here just so that they could have it for preschoolers. And we also had like 2 different koala shows. And yes, I do remember David the Gnome, Mekon. That's another one. That was on like for years. But Nick Jr. had some pretty good shows back in the day too.
Material Boy says, "You are all too young." I'm like, oh, is that a challenge? Is our age being challenged today? Purple Chaos Kitten says, "Anyone remember Macy?"
Mm-hmm.
That was way after my time with Nick Jr.
I remember Macy.
Yeah, Muppet Babies did air on Nick Jr., but also aired on proper Nick.
Ooh, that is. Material Boy brings up an excellent point. In Nickelodeon, they had way different shows in the UK. I know they had some of the Americanized shows, but I also am curious. Material Boy, what shows in the UK for Nick Jr. did you used to watch that were not released here in the US? Because Nickelodeon, if I remember correctly, has a lot of different shows also in the UK that are more prominent than they are in America.
Yeah, I remember Gullah Gullah Island, Purple Chaos Kitten.
Oh, geez.
Cool.
Gullah Gullah Island. Material Boy says, "I was too old for Nick Jr." I'm like, oh no. Bananas in Pajamas resonated with me on a weird level. No idea why. Because it's
it probably didn't air on Nickelodeon in the United States.
I mean, this is what we're doing, Material Boy. We're bringing the nostalgia here. That's the awesome part. But I will say this: I did like Bananas in Pajamas. Because they had 3 bear characters also.
Materia, you just brought a blast in the past to my mind. Banana Man, I remember that. That was like when I was very small. I remember watching that. Those shorts, like a banana superhero. I remember that. But Materia, I'm gonna challenge you on something. Do you remember this one short that aired on Nickelodeon, like in the late 80s or like probably like 1990 or something, where there was like this one guy you would see on top of the table, he would have like this egg like sitting on some sort of like little like egg holder or something, and then he would tap it with a spoon, and then you would hear, "Hey, what's this? Now stop that!" And then he just destroyed the egg, and then after that, he hears like someone tapping. He opens his door. Nobody opened the door, and then his house gets destroyed because he was saying the exact same lines as like the egg, saying, "Hey, what's this? Now stop that."
So it's like a
That. Go ahead.
Oh, is that like it looped itself then?
It was basically like a loop. It got to the point. It was dark, and it was basically like karma comes right back at you. That's what it was. I'll actually look for the clip for this.
We also have Danger Mouse, as Big Brain Lane brings up Danger Mouse. I don't know Danger Mouse like that. Like, I'll have to think. Material Boy says, I will have to think about that. I will have to think.
I found it.
But
I'll put this here.
Let's see what we got. Let's see this thing. Count Duckula.
Oh yes, I do remember Count Duckula, and I do remember Danger Mouse. I watched that a lot growing up.
Hold on one sec. Cameras are gonna look a little weird because I'm clicking on links, but hey, I fixed it. We fix things here, guys. But so this is gonna bring me to my next moment, and this is gonna bring everyone to the next part of this thing. What was your happiest Nickelodeon moment ever? And wait, before we do that, this is the analogy.
Yeah, this one right here. I was small when this aired. Wait, what? I was about to say what happened to the screen. Oh, there we go.
It's right there. Hold on, I'm curious.
Hey, who is it? Yeah, just a minute. I'm a coming. Hello. Hello.
I would just love to see this. He's just like, hello?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, what is it? Hey.
Just
Hey,
wait for it.
watch it. Who is it? No, stop that.
Oh.
Hey, no.
This man's getting aggressive.
Hey, no. Oh,
Yep. Oh, but wait. It
Oh.
gets better. It gets dark.
Oh.
Hey, who is it?
Oh.
Yeah, just a minute. I'm a coming.
Oh my god.
Hello. Hello.
Oh god.
Yes, what is it?
You know what's a funny thing that I just noticed? He does look like a yolk.
He does.
I say that, yeah.
He does look like a yolk.
Who is it? No, stop that. Hey, no. No. Hey, no. Oh,
And that's the end.
But yeah, I think that's a very important cartoon for kids to like pick up on. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, no idea. Mikasa's repressed memories. But yeah, I think this is a very important video for kids to realize this, because it's like, it's about karmic reaction. I'm like, hey, If you do something bad, it comes back to you. And because like, damn you, Shell Shock, you reminded me of repressed memories. I remember this now because it was a long time ago. They reran that thing so much. We can't talk about Nick Jr. without talking about Face, though.
Yeah.
Face.
Oh yeah, the big face that would always come up.
Hi there, Face here.
Junior.
Like, we can't not talk about Face. But now this is where we go to our questions. And this is gonna be a very important. What was one of the saddest moments in your favorite Nicktoon that you announced? So we have one for Rocko's Modern Life, we have one for Hey Arnold, and we have one for Rugrats.
Saddest moments.
Saddest moments.
Let's see. So I do have one for Rugrats. Do you remember the episode when Chucky gets this little bug friend named Melville?
Oh no.
And then during the episode, Melville dies, and Chucky was going through like a denial phase, denying the fact that he was dead, playing with it, pretending that he's still alive because he didn't want to believe that that Melville died, but everyone else already knew.
No, like
And
that bothered me so. That broke my heart watching that again.
And then, like in the clip that I shared with you, like it got to the point where they tried to get a replacement Snail, and that's when everything hit the fan.
I sadly cannot show the clip because I'm afraid of a Viacom thing, but
Yeah,
we'll be very careful with that.
I don't blame you.
I know what episode you're talking about because it was literally just hearing Chucky's voice going, Melville, speak to me, and I'm just like, damn. And then him realizing that Melville's actually dead, that really made me cry so badly. Imagination Artist actually goes into my saddest moment in Rugrats, which is revisiting Chucky's mom, knowing that Chucky's mom had passed away and she was sick in the hospital. But not only did that episode from Mother's Day actually come up and actually like made me cry, but the movie Rugrats in Paris, the whole thing was hard to watch as an older adult now because, again, I work with children. I've seen like parents do stupid things to their children. It gets annoying. And when I see like Coco trying to go after Chaz just so she could get a promotion, and the way she treated Chucky and the other babies, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching these babies go in a giant mecha suit all throughout Paris. And this dude just, Coco's assistant, almost literally killed these kids in the robot suit. I'm just like, I had those vibes where it was just like I was scared for these babies because they were stuck in they were in the suit. And no one can truly deny the fact that before this whole adventure happened in Paris, when the DJ said, oh, let's time for all the kids to dance with their moms, and you just see Chucky in the corner, I'm just like,
oh yeah. Like I remember watching Rugrats in Paris, but I do remember the Mother's Day episode. That was very sad. Oh my god, Mikan. The ending to that episode.
yeah.
Oh my god. No, the Pinocchio parody, the Egg Yokio. I remember that.
Egg Yokio.
The ending of that gets me every time. Wow.
The Pinocchio parody in Ren and Stimpy, that was an episode. Stimpy's fart was sad as well. Oh, Stimpy's
yes.
fart.
Son of Stimpy, yeah, that was the Christmas one. Yeah, one of the Christmas ones they did.
Like I said,
Mom did not want me watching this.
So Marzy, what was your saddest Nicktoons moment?
My saddest one is like, it's a combination, it's a crier, right? It's the part one is Arnold's boarding housemate, Mr. Huynh,
Yes.
the what I assume is the Vietnamese man, because he had to give up his daughter during the Vietnam War. He literally just held her up in the air from a crowd of people and tried to give her to an American soldier, and she was chosen. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to even think. From a child, I was thinking about, well, what if I got taken away from my parents and that was that? And then you kind of just start thinking about, well, that's a lonely old man then, when you're a little girl. And now I'm thinking like he wasn't even that old. He was like maybe hitting 50 when they were reunited in the Christmas episode, which is like not my saddest moment, but it's like an equally sobby moment, just like on a little bit of the happier spectrum to round that out. Because during the Christmas episode of Hey Arnold, there's a lot of favors traded back and forth. And Arnold actually gets like the greatest gift of all, which is reuniting Mr. Wynn with his daughter, who I believe is in her late teens or early 20s at that point. So that's just a super, super emotional roller coaster there.
Mm-hmm.
Mika and Pachi brings up the Pigeon Guy episode. If you remember the birds.
Oh yeah,
that one does break my heart a little bit too, because this is a man that does not trust society at all, does not trust people whatsoever. But the birds, they never hurt him, and birds always come back. When he says birds, they'll come back. And it was like, when you hear that comparison between him and birds and him and people, it's like, wow, that this society has screwed over so many people in some case where they can't even trust people anymore. It's more like you have to trust in something else.
Yeah, I remember that episode because I remember the Pigeon Man would start trusting Arnold. They would go out, get pizza, and when they go back, everything was destroyed because of Harold and his gang. And it's one of those things where you put your trust on someone thinking that everything's going to be fine, like for just a little while. And then when you go back, trust is gone because you can't trust anyone. You just got to leave.
Yeah.
I think a sad cat dog moment was when they were about to have surgery to split themselves up. If you remember that whole episode.
Oh my gosh.
That they were actually going to take a surgery to split themselves up. And Rancid Rabbit was, of course, in charge of the operation at that time. It was literally Rancid Rabbit having a store full of butts. I'm not even kidding about this. A store just full of butts. If I had that, yeah. I would love it. Also, hi, Waba. Thank you. Hey, Waba. I try to be at my best barely dressed outfit right now. Barely dressed outfit right now. But that was probably one of the sadder moments when we were looking into it, because with Cat Dog, they're always together, they're always friends, and Dog sees this awesome future, and Cat's like, yeah, you're gonna have an awesome future, and I'm gonna be free from this madness. And then it takes that moment to like register, oh wait, hold on, we're gonna be separated. And that's where it goes into it. So that was probably a sad moment in there. I don't have a fan going, do I? Do I sound like I have a fan going? Hold on. I have fixed that if that's the case. Oh, no. Oh, wait, no. That's just the noise gate acting up. That's on me. That's the noise gate. It buzzed. Yeah, it buzzes when I do that. That's what happened. I have to fix noise gate. I haven't figured it out yet. Figured. Yeah. But all in all together, I will bring up my favorite Rugrats quote from the Christmas movie when everyone is planning for the trip and Grandpa's like, I'll drink a quart of eggnog and fall asleep on the couch. Sounds about right. Material Boy says, if I was a girl, I would have dressed like her growing up. Dressed like, probably missed something. Like Clarissa. Which, by the way, Marzy, I can tell that your outfit's sort of inspired from the I love Marzy's outfit right now. It's inspired 90s. It's inspired Clarissa knows it all. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Tried.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I love the theme song. It's so simple. It's catchy. I love it.
So now we have a little challenge in 5 minutes, which, as you see on our middle screen right here, we have ourselves a tier list of all the Nicktoons that we've ever had on Nickelodeon. And it is our job as a trio here to put this together. But we're also going to be talking about each single show that we could have possibly seen on this. Because I will tell you this right now, I probably haven't seen like about 5 of these. At least 5. I assure you, at least 5 I have not seen of these.
Yeah. There's like a lot of the modern ones I have not seen because like I don't watch Nickelodeon like I used to. I used to be really into Nickelodeon, and then like some of the current stuff I don't watch.
Also, Senpai, thank you for the host. I appreciate it.
Hey, Senpai.
Yeah, I stopped watching in probably like 2010 or 2011. So I'm like right about the end of the, like, I remember Mighty B, I remember Fanboy and Chum Chum, and then I'm like, what was the rest of that stuff?
I try to forget Fanboy and Chum Chum, honestly.
I used to, but now I just embrace it. I'm just like, it exists, it happened, it was awful, I hated everything about it. Enter me. Not like that.
Marzy, Imagination Artist, brought up Chalk Zone.
Oh, Chalk Zone.
Chalk Zone.
Is Chalk Zone a fever dream? I used to think it wasn't real. I used to think I imagined this little blue ball rolling around a chalkboard like in my dreams. And then I resaw it on the Saturday morning cartoons or whatever it was.
And Rudy's got the chalk.
Rudy's got the chalk. I will say this, however, Chalk Zone is what it is to Nickelodeon as Sagwa the Siamese Kittens is to PBS. No one remembers Sagwa.
No.
So
there's a lot of shows that people don't remember watching, but they existed.
Like most of Kablam.
Most of Kablam.
Yes, Kablam. Action League Now.
Angela Anaconda.
Yeah, people forget that Angela Anaconda was on there before it moved to
Disney.
ABC Family.
ABC Family, Disney. At that time, because I believe that was also the same time that it was literally the
Yeah, yeah, the chalk guy sounded like Rosie O'Donnell, but it's not Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, that's such a good point. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, though Rosie O'Donnell did host the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards for like 6 years. And then she ended up leaving.
And then Angela Anaconda had a confirmed spot in Digimon the movie, if you remember that short little thing that happened before it.
It's like, remember the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards? And best animated show would always be Rugrats, and then after that it would be dethroned by SpongeBob, which still wins from what I hear.
Yeah, that's the usual case right there. All right.
Yeah,
we have actually hit the 1 o'clock mark. The tier list is ready.
Oh yeah.
So here we go. This is where the list is gonna go in right now. So the first show on our list is The Wild Thornberries.
Oh, I remember the Nick Retreat. Wild Thornberries. Let's be honest. Y'all only watch that show just for Nigel Thornberry.
Yeah.
True, but I did like Eliza's ability to talk to the animals. And honestly, there was quite a few sad moments in The Wild Thornberries, especially when if you remember the elephant episode where the old elephant grew old and she was like literally telling her daughter, and she's literally talking to the elephant before she passes. That one still gets me.
Mm-hmm. There had some good deep ones in there. The thing is, though, it's like only the relationship between Eliza and the animals was it's not like that was the only thing that was highlighted, but it was almost like that was the focus of where the morality lay. And at the same time, though, a lot of those issues and relationships were to line up with human behavior. That's where the lesson of the cartoon came from. But I found that in that, they frequently didn't develop the relationships of the actual human characters.
Yeah.
I will say this: the movie highlighted the Wild Thornberrys at a really good time as well.
Mm-hmm.
The movie got me because you see Eliza getting sent to boarding school because of her disobedient behavior and literally going back, losing her power, and then getting it back because she did the greatest thing, which was save all the elephants from getting hit with the electric fence by the poachers, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I will give, like, Wild Thornberrys, I'd give an A. What about you two?
Yeah. I did the exact same tier list. I'm trying to figure out where I put it at. I'm gonna look at it.
I'm a B baby because the Donnie story bothers me a little bit. They never wrapped it up. Love it. Love the voice actor for Donnie, Flea, but I'm pretty sure that it was just like, I mean, sad. Donnie's
Definitely.
parents got killed by poachers, okay? And that was like a big highlight in the Wild Thornberrys dealt a lot with the issues that were behind poaching. That's where I learned about what poaching even was. So again, super important lessons there. But Donnie's parents are killed by poachers. But Donnie's parents live in a village of researchers. The village does not take on Donnie. The village gives Donnie to the orangutans. The orangutans take Donnie into the woods, raise him a little bit, and then the Wild Thornberrys stumble upon him, and the orangutans are like, oh, and that's another sad part. We must release our human son. This is what's best for him. And again, that's something that humans have to do. But he was released to the Wild Thornberrys, who then make no attempt to educate or dress or not control, but babysit Donnie. They literally leave him with the rebellious, like 15-year-old girl who could not give two shits like more what Donnie is up to. And that always really got me. I felt like he was a neglected or abused child.
Yeah.
And so that's why I put it at a B.
Yeah, I also
That's
put
like with it.
I also put Wild Thornberrys on B.
All right. So with that being said, we'll be putting Wild Thornberrys on B. The vote that was done was 2 Bs, 1 A, so it will go in the B tier.
Okay.
All right. So next one is SpongeBob SquarePants.
Ooh. Where do we start?
Okay, let's start with the mere fact that, Shell, anytime when me or even Marcy can even say this, we've made so many SpongeBob meme jokes and quoted it so much. It belongs in a good spot, but not an S. I would say it's a good S, a good A tier at least, because of the fact that one, it's literally just we quote this show so many times.
I use this in my daily life. Take this thing, put it over there. You're good. You're good. Like I can never stop. And it's not because I'm like a SpongeBob fangirl or anything, but it's because it's stuck with me. It's because the humor stuck with me. And maybe that's just my 90s persona.
Yeah.
Fair.
And like for me, SpongeBob, like to me, the only SpongeBob that really matters the most are from the first episode all the way up to the first movie.
Yeah, and
that's the golden age of SpongeBob. It never recovered after that.
Yeah, and Waba makes that very clear in this too. He's like, please split SpongeBob as well. So I think because of the fact that the show has gone downhill, I would put it around C or D.
Yeah.
I mean, but it still has the memory.
So
yeah,
it was A tier for sure.
So
to me.
All right, no problem. I would put it at C for myself.
I put it on B because of the first 3 seasons and the first movie.
I think with the average of our grading system, it would make a good B, at least. Like it's a solid B. All right, next one is Rocket Power.
Ooh, yeah, that one. So Rocket Power for me, I liked it a lot more back when I first watched it compared to when I rewatched it later on. Because I feel like it's a product of its time. Because skateboarding culture, extreme sports culture was huge throughout the 90s and in going into the 2000s. Especially with people playing the Tony Hawk games, people watching all the extreme sports stuff on like ESPN and some other channels. And Rocket Power just happened to come out at the right time with all the extreme sports stuff. You have 4 characters though. The character Sam moves in. I believe he came from Kansas. He was originally going to come from New York, but they decided to change it to Kansas. And what happened was that he had no knowledge of these extreme sports, so he had to adapt. I feel like he had like the most character growth because he had to learn. He had to adapt to everything on how to actually get better. He just happened to be really good at being a goalie in street hockey. And then you have Otto, who is very egotistical, but he would always get his comeuppance whenever he messes up, or like he tends to get away with a few things, but his father, Ray Rocket, would not allow that. And Ray used to be like this, like he runs like the Shore Shack is what I think it's called.
Yeah.
He used to be like this like popular surfer and all that with Tito. And I love Tito for one reason. The ancient Hawaiian sayings. Like rocket power was fun, but I felt that it started to get a bit cheesy later on.
So I'd give rocket power a D.
I'd say C for cheese, but that's just okay. I'm gonna stop saying that.
I gave rocket power a C.
So I think with that average, it would amount to a C. I mean, rocket power was good at its time, but yeah, like
it hasn't aged well.
It has not aged well at all. So we'll be putting it at C. Next one is As Told by Ginger, and oh my god, I love that show. So story. When I was dealing with my grandmother and grandfather's funeral, I needed something to get by the day, and I told myself I was going to rewatch As Told by Ginger, or at least some Nickelodeon show that I used to watch with my grandparents. And As Told by Ginger was the one that I was like, I need this, and it was really that it made me feel good show. It was really serious about all of its problems, and it really was a more empowering show at the time. And to this day, rewatching it, it literally, it's aged well.
Yes.
And even though I was a boy, it was more targeted towards, younger girls, or growing girls at the time. But it was still something to remember. And you know what? As someone who believes that there should be equality in every gender known to man, and also tackling very serious issues, As Told by Ginger really does deserve like a really good spot. So I would give that an A. Like, it is highly underrated.
I'm also going to give it an A.
I agree.
All right, so As Told by Ginger, an A. Boom. Next up is The Fairly Odd Parents. If you wanted some if you really wanted some crazy humor, The Fairly Odd Parents was perfect for that chaos.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Here's the thing about Fairly Odd Parents. I remember when it was one of the shows that was on like Oh Yeah Cartoons. They had a bunch of shorts there, and then it ended up being its own show. When the first episode of The Fairly Odd Parents aired, it aired alongside the first episode of Invader Zim around that time. Because I was like, oh, 2 new Nicktoons we're going to introduce to you. And they did that on Friday nights. But what happened was that Fairly Odd Parents started off really good. And I really like the dynamic of Timmy, as well as both Cosmo and Wanda, Jorgen von Strangle coming up out of nowhere, and the fact that he looks intimidating, looks aggressive. I absolutely love that character. Never really was a fan of Vicky, the babysitter. Never really liked her.
No one really liked her. That was the
I always wanted to see her like get her comeuppance, and I love the fact that they had this antagonist in the teacher, Denzel Crocker, because every time he would always like Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights
That's again another abusive teacher that we did not need in the Department of Education.
And Timmy was never a smart student. He always gets Fs.
That's just it, though. I want to make this very clear. This is the funny part about this. All the times that Crocker has given Timmy an F, some of the times was because he had a preferential bias towards Timmy because of his Fairly Odd Parents. Half the time, he like at least a D. Like I know Timmy wasn't the smartest, but at least a D.
F for fairies, obviously.
Exactly.
Also, I still laugh at the portion that every time that Vicky walks somewhere, there's a guy with a piano playing an evil theme song. Dun, 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 dun. Stop following me.
Yep. And of course, we have Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadome, that Dimmadome, the Doug Dimmadome that owns.
And then there was like another character, Chip Skylark, who was portrayed by Chris Kirkpatrick of NSYNC.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that. That's fun. I remember the Shiny Teeth song though.
Yeah.
My shiny teeth and me. Icky Vicky.
Oh man, no, that was the best comeuppance. That's literally a big comeuppance. Like someone that you love to listen to sing is actually singing a really bad song about you, but at the same time, it also pays homage to them because it's like,
They tried ending the Fairly Odd Parents 3 times. Well, actually, no, twice. The first time was the Channel Chasers with Timmy and Vicky. Because if Timmy would have just like left everything as it is and not wished for everything to be back to normal, that's where it would have ended. Because Vicky was fired from being the babysitter, and then Timmy could have said, "I'm happy. Thank you for everything, Kazawanda. But I don't need you anymore." You could have just ended there. But no, because Nickelodeon wanted it to continue.
That is true.
And the other ending, because they had 3 different crossovers with Jimmy Neutron. We'll get to Jimmy Neutron soon, but they had 3 different crossovers. The third one could have been the ending of that too. But they kept it going with the baby Poof. And then we had
Chloe.
Well, before Chloe had the Fairly Odd Dog.
That too.
I missed that entirely. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I stopped watching when they introduced the baby. When I found out that they introduced the dog, I'm like, why? And then Chloe made it like the whole thing went worse. And then the show just ended abruptly because the creator left Nickelodeon.
Chloe ruined it. No, it was already going downhill like after that because the show was great. Don't get me wrong. I just wish that it didn't go downhill. Also, Waba makes a very, very clear point. Also, how did they get away with Britney? You remember Britney?
I have no idea.
I wanted to bring up just the Crimson Chin. Mikan said the Crimson Chin.
Oh yeah, the Crimson Chin. Yeah.
Superhero, but I think my 2 there's not many, but Quailman, Crimson Chin, we needed that another after Quailman. We needed a good superhero, and I think we got one.
We also had Crash Nebula too.
Yeah, you know who voiced Crimson Chin?
Adam West.
No, nope. He was the cat man. Jay Leno.
Jay Leno.
Yeah, Jay Leno.
So when somebody says, "Hey, you got that Jay Leno chin," just remember he also voiced Crimson Chin.
Yep.
So Fairly Odd Parents, I would actually give it about a C or D. It was a great show in its beginning time, but more of the seasons in the show was during its downhill time than when it was in its prime.
Yeah, they kept trying to remake those first 2 seasons, which they're fine, they're classic. The first 2 seasons almost hit like a short series about a boy who needs fairies.
Yeah.
After that, it's just so much more. It's just on repeat.
So
I agree, like a D.
Yeah, a D.
If it would have been, I'd say if it would have just been everything up until the last Jimmy Neutron crossover, and then every other season after that, where like the baby, the dog, and Chloe never happened, it would have been an A. But nope. It's going to go to C.
All right. So with our vote, it's going to end up in D. There was 2 Ds to 1 C. So.
Okay.
All right, Invader Zim.
That is the next one.
That is one of the most darkest shows I've ever saw. And guess what? I was okay with it because I know the artists. I know the artist did another series of mine in the comics, which was called Filler Bunny, and that was even worse.
Yeah, Jonan Vasquez. He's so into all this dark stuff. He knows how to bring all the darkness out of these shows or comics that he used to work on. And Invader Zim is really good. I feel like it was too good for Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
It really was.
Honestly, and I don't know how to explain this, but it was almost like a comic book in motion. There was so much to look at. It was like the rewatchability came more from the animation than from the episode content as well.
Like, with Fairly Odd Parents, it was convoluted and it was going downhill. Invader Zim was convoluted, but it had a purpose and a story, and it was really good. It was really good to look at.
It did fizzle, though. I feel like I don't even very much remember how it ended.
Okay, but that one you can technically blame Nickelodeon for that one, though. You can technically blame Nickelodeon for that.
There were episodes that did not air until like years after it was canceled. It was canceled mostly because the creator left Nickelodeon due to creative differences, and Nickelodeon decided not to continue the show.
Honestly, I would give Invader Zim an S. I did enjoy it.
Same.
Oh, we're going there. All right, S tier.
S tier.
We were gonna have to.
Listen, it's unanimous. Invader Zim is an S. Like, we're doing that. Like it's unanimous. It's going in the even the chat, even me guys like S. And Danny Acero says Invader Zim jumped into organ harvesting so quickly. I think Dark Harvest was episode 6. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
Like I like the one where like they went to that one pizza place, and all because of the fact that let's see, it was Dib and Gaz. Like Gaz really wanted to have the quality time with the father because the father's the scientist and is always busy, but this was like the one time he was free, and it was either now or never. But Dib was more like focused on wanting to defeat Zim, but they ended up just rushing that just so they could actually have the quality time at the pizza place. And the best part was the pizza guy, like there was like this pig costume. The kids kept feeding him pizza, and when he took off his costume, like, what the hell?
Oh god, that was the reveal of like so many health issues. Our next show is Chalk Zone.
F for Fever Dream.
F for Fever.
Wow. I'm really just kidding. Chalk Zone was really interesting. It was a really deep premise.
I'd honestly give it a solid B or C, honestly. It was really good at its time, and it was a rare show that I got a chance to watch.
Yeah, it's like the last season or two, Nickelodeon just put it at the most random hours, so nobody, because Nickelodeon used to have this habit, and they still do, where they actually sabotage their own shows, so nobody could watch it. I always hated when they did that, and it sucks because people lose out. Not the networks. The networks don't lose out, like the watchers do. So with that, I'm gonna give it a C.
All right.
I can agree with that.
So it needed more, and the worst part about it was Chalk Zone only had 15-minute blocks, if I remember correctly. They only had 15-minute blocks, and I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Next show is Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron. Here we go.
Yep. Jimmy Neutron. I've seen bits and pieces of the movie. I've never seen the whole thing, but I've watched almost the entire series.
Listen, it is meme-worthy too. It is very, very meme-worthy. I will tell you this right now. I still remember Carl trying to have Jimmy fold his pants with the folding and hanging song to this day, and I'm still laughing about it because I'm just like, hearing Carl sing is like lawnmowers going in a circle. It's like me with the buzzing behind my background.
Yeah.
But like times 10 in stereo.
And they did have, like, again, the crossovers with the Fairly Odd Parents. 3 of them happened. Because the first one felt more like a Fairly Odd Parents episode. The second one felt more like a Jimmy Neutron episode. And the third one was like a combination of both.
But that was the perfect trilogy for that, because it worked to its favor. It was like one had more of the other, and then the 2 literally just ended with both combined at a very nice pace.
Yeah.
Also, the love story between Jimmy and Cindy works really well too, honestly. It's an emphasis on kids like to pick on the people that they love, and even more so on that. I found it was really good, honestly.
Yeah. I gave Jimmy Neutron a B.
B.
I was gonna say A or B, yeah.
I would give it a B. I'm putting it in B. It's going there right now. Okay, so the next show is All Grown Up, which is the sequel to the Rugrats. It was okay. It wasn't great. I would give it about a C or D.
I feel like the later episodes were better than the earlier ones. The earlier ones were kind of like but I give it a C.
Hold on, wait a minute. Wait, what? Croissant? Oh, he said croissant. All Up was a D. All Up felt unnecessary. I mean, that's the thing. It felt unnecessary. Like, I was happy with the one special that they did on Rugrats. I was happy with the one special that they did. That was great. That was awesome. I liked it. So I am gonna put it on the C. It was not necessary. Oh, this one's a personal favorite of mine. My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Yo, Nickelodeon did that show dirty after season 2.
Yes.
Go. What did you do?
Like,
they moved it to, because Nickelodeon has this thing where they move shows to Nicktoons and they send those shows to die over there because not everybody has Nicktoons. That said, this show was awesome. I give it an A.
Yeah, the art style.
Yeah, the art
was amazing. That mod retro futuristic, like bringing that Jetson style back into like the 90s culture, I think was really effective.
I really want to give this an A as well. Trust me. I love Nora Wakeman, and to this day, I still kind of quote her a little bit. Next one is Doug.
Yes. Give it an A, please.
Oh, I'm like listen, Doug was one of those good shows, and I second that A. I do not have to talk about we do not have to say anything about Doug. Doug was really good. And honest, I love it. I hate the fact that Disney killed it a little bit though.
We don't speak of that.
We don't speak of that.
Oh yeah, I don't talk about Disney's Doug, but there was a split where it got canceled for 2 years or like suspended. Came back, different voice actor. They got rid of the beats. They closed down the main restaurant. The jokes just didn't work. Like they did too much stuff at once to try to like, oh yeah, things have changed around here. Everything could have been really fine though. So I only count like early Doug as actual Doug.
So all those crossover like video games and other medias that you see with all the Nicktoons together, there's a reason you're never going to see Doug on them. Disney still owns Doug. How did Nickelodeon let that slip? I will never know, but
and Doug,
what I do know is that
Doug was one of the original 4. Like, it was Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Rugrats, and Doug. And then after that, Hey Arnold was added later on, a little bit later, and that was, those were the 5 good Nicktoons that we had at the time.
Yeah, they still have the rights to their own show, but that's it. But what happened is this. They tried getting Billy West, who voiced Doug and Roger on the show, to come back to the Disney one, and he didn't do it because it's not that they couldn't afford him, it's that they didn't want to pay. They were actually being cheap with how they handle the pay. And then guess what? It turned out when Billy West actually watched it, he didn't like it. Yeah. He hated the Disney Doug. He loved the Nickelodeon one. And he even said, if Nickelodeon could somehow get the rights back and they do something with Doug again, he will go back to voicing Doug.
Yeah.
All right, so our next show is Danny Phantom.
I've heard it's good. I've not experienced with it.
I put I put Danny Phantom on B because while seasons 1 and 2 were great,
Yep.
I didn't like season 3 that much.
All right, so I'm happy you said that, Shell, because there's a reason. Danny Phantom was supposed to go very dark into the underworld and death and going into death and stuff like that a lot more, but because it was Nickelodeon's executive decision to make it a little bit more lighthearted, they kind of killed some of the original content. And I saw the original content, what they had entitled for Danny Phantom, because they went into the depths of the ghosts. It was great.
Yeah.
The show was great, but Nickelodeon also kind of killed it and made it a little bit more like, oh, this is fine. I'm like, no, it's not.
The box ghost.
So I'm gonna put this in B. And
Yeah,
Marzy, you gonna?
All up to you. Yep, I have
Right.
not seen enough of it to even.
Next
decide.
one is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you know where this is going. This is S. No,
Do we really need to say any further?
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Come on, it's going in S. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's-
Iroh itself just makes it S.
I used to think that people were just like being fanning over it, like hardcore, and then I watched it recently, like within the last 2 years, and I understood instantly. And I'm not much of like a fan person. That show is S tier.
All right.
Yes.
Next show is Cat Scratch, and I'm automatically putting that at F.
Yes, put it in F.
I love that.
Even though I actually had Cat Scratch, I had Cat Scratch in F on mine. Because the creator is the same guy that made Earthworm Jim, and he's a horrible human being. Yeah.
And not even just the fact that I didn't like Cat Scratch that much, but it wasn't the greatest for me. I saw it. I had an open mind for it, and then after that, I also found out about the creator as well, and that also just doubled down on like, okay, I really don't like this show now. Not even just the creator. The show wasn't all that great. It wasn't anything it didn't pop up as much. It didn't even have a pop. If I'm judging from a show's stand, like I will say this, if I'm judging from a show's standpoint and not the creator, it didn't pop as much as the other Nicktoons that would be around at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for that alone, that goes to F.
Sorry, Cat Scratch.
Next up is, I don't even know what the show is. I can't even read it. I think, what the heck?
Which one does it look like? That's the X's.
The X's.
That came out in 2006. It was okay. It was just like one of those like shows that just came in, middle of the road style show. They had Patrick Warburton, who people may know him as Joe from Family Guy,
or the narrator in the series of unfortunate events on Netflix.
Yeah. He couldn't save this show, so I'm gonna have to give this one a C, like a lower C.
I remember this show. I would have to give this a D.
I was gonna say D as well. It really just reminded me of a low budget Saturday morning cartoon.
El Tigre.
El Tigre is okay. Like
I
I wasn't really like super into it, but for what I've seen of it, I thought it was okay.
I thought it had more energy and better like attempts at story and character creation than All Grown Up did.
Yes. Well,
so like that makes me, even though I never name it when I'm talking about Nickelodeon at all, because it wasn't like my favorite show.
The only thing I didn't like about it was the animation. But everything else, I agree with you on that.
The animation had the same type. It had a very close match with Mucha Lucha, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So it gave me the Mucha Lucha vibes that I needed, and it had all the things. I would put it in B. Shell, what about your grade on it?
C.
And Marcy?
B.
So we'll go into B.
Okay.
Tak and the Power of Juju, which I want to just state this. This was originally a PlayStation 2 game, and it became a Nick show.
So
I've never seen it.
Get on this list. I didn't even know it was a show.
Yeah.
So sorry, I can't say that I've seen it.
Yeah, so I've never seen it.
Like, I'm putting this honestly in D. It wasn't the greatest, and it certainly was. Back to the Barnyard, I really want to put it as an F. I really do. I could not stand it.
It
D
was
for me.
driven in.
D.
God, sorry.
Sorry, D because it has a few moments, but you'll forget about them because of how terrible the animation is, even for CG. Like Jimmy Neutron will look better than this, and
Exactly.
it's made by some of the people who worked on Jimmy Neutron. Like it had a movie which the main character was played by Kevin James, and then they replaced him on the show because they couldn't afford him, or at least they didn't want to pay him at least. So. It's a mediocre show at best for me, so I'm gonna give it a D.
I agree with that.
Okay, so we'll put it at D. Mighty B.
I don't like this show. I don't know why. I never liked the show.
I think it's because the entire color palette is in sepia tones.
It's in sepia tones.
I feel like I want to keep watching it.
And also the fact that I felt they were trying to replicate the optimistic, annoying main character, and we already had that in SpongeBob.
Yeah, because this was Amy Poehler's show, but I feel like this just didn't really do it for me. It didn't click. I'm gonna give it a D.
Yeah,
I would give it a C. It was a little bit better than some of the other shows that are in D. It was a little bit better.
Yeah.
It was a little better than Attack and the Power of the Juju and Back to the Barnyard. I will give it a C. Next one is Making Fiends.
Never seen it.
Can I make a note about the really cool female independence and feminism that was in Mighty B? Because although it didn't hit every time, it was there. They were trying.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying.
Yeah. Well, at least they tried. Yeah, I just never really got into the show. That's just me.
So the next one is Making Fiends, and I actually know this show, but here's the problem with the show. There was not enough content. There was only 6 episodes of Making. Only 6.
It's probably one of those shows that got canceled because Nickelodeon has this thing where they'll stop caring about a show if it doesn't do better than any of the SpongeBob reruns.
Great point. I'm so glad that finally got brought up. I mean, I know we all kind of know that, but
the thing is that if Nickelodeon if people were to call Nickelodeon out on this and people say right to their faces, they're just gonna laugh at you because they don't care.
Yeah, they know. And they have openly admitted oh, this is not doing as well as SpongeBob. 6 episodes later, just cancel it.
Yeah, that wasn't
absurdity.
Never got a chance.
So, Making Fiends was one of those weird. It was not on the level of Invader Zim, but it was okay. But there was not enough to go on, so it was. Yeah. I would put it on D, honestly.
Yeah, I'm putting it on haven't watched because I haven't seen it.
I would even put it on haven't watched because it didn't get a chance to be watched.
Yeah, that is fair. So we'll put it on the not watched. Next one is The Penguins of Madagascar.
It was okay. I think it's better than Back of the Barnyard.
It really is.
So I have it on C.
I'd give it a C or a B.
I'd give it a B. It was great. Chat's ooh, that's an A. I mean, I understand why it's an A. This was okay. I would also give it an A for the mere fact that this was one of those movies that literally, we had Madagascar. They took a very side character that had some interest in it, and they actually made it good. This is something that Back at the Barnyard should have been, and it wasn't.
It wasn't Minions, right? It could have been Minions style.
I would give this thing an A. Marsy said B, and Shell said C, so in the middle, it would be a B.
Okay.
Rugrats. It's my favorite one. I cannot say at least an A. S tier.
I hate to have to do this to you, Hito, but I'm gonna put Rugrats in B, and I'm going to explain. Allow me to explain. Wow, the first 3 seasons were fantastic, all around. Some of the best Nickelodeon had to offer. Then it went on hiatus. When it came back, I just felt it lost some of its magic that it used to have. They were still good, but I feel like they just weren't as good as the first 3 seasons. Something was missing. I mean, yes, you still have the characters, you have the stories where obviously, like, they go on adventures. They have their own problems as babies that they have to solve. And then we have a new character in Dill, the little brother. And then we have another new character, Kimmy, who is the stepsister of Chucky. And Kimmy was more or less trying to be a little bit more like Tommy in some aspects. Whereas Dill, in Rugrats, he didn't have a personality because he was just a little baby. He was like a newborn baby. So how could he have a personality? He was just there. And I felt like they were kind of phoning it in within the last few seasons. So that right there is why I would give it a B, because I felt like the later seasons dragged it down. If it would have just been the first 3 seasons, it would have been an S, hands down, with no problems.
All right, now this is where I disagree with you on this, because I just rewatched this whole series and I saw all the seasons rewatching them. Kimmy is actually a very integral part to the show, because Chucky needed someone to actually like give him that push for, okay, I need to stop being scared all the time. And this was like slowly helping Chucky understand what it's like to be a big brother, standing up to people a lot better. This was actually really integral for Chucky's character arc as, okay, I'm now an older brother now. This is very, very important that now I need to start stepping up. And you see that growth happening. He's even stood up to Angelica multiple times with Kimmy. He's done it way more now than before Kimmy, and you see it growing and growing. So honestly, the newer seasons did give more integral parts. Dill actually had a small growing arc in those newer seasons too. I think it was important, honestly. That's why I would give it an S tier, because as the older seasons, yes, they didn't have, as the newer seasons didn't have some of that magic. It's because of the fact that one, they changed up a few things during its production, because one, they found Angelica way too mean in the first 3 seasons. So they had to change it up, because they were like, okay, these are babies though. Like, at the end of the day, we're giving them permission for that. But I will say this, I definitely would give it the S, because at the end of the day, all of the episodes in the future, even if they were a lot older, it really went into each of the characters' development, and there was good character development in there.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you mean. I understand. It's just, I guess the later seasons just didn't really click with me like the earlier seasons did.
Fair. Also, the fact that all 3 of the movies were really good. All 3 of the movies were good.
I didn't see the third one, the one with the Wild Thornberrys crossover. I didn't see that one.
So
I've seen the first 2.
Oh, never mind. I didn't see the second one. I haven't seen Paris.
Yeah, Marcy, you would love Paris.
No, the first movie was so dark. Like, the darkest scene in that one was where Tommy was in the woods with Dill, and he was about to attack Dill, blaming him for the fact that his friends wanted nothing to do with him anymore, and he was not the center of attention anymore, because when Dill was born, all the attention went to Dill, and Tommy was just kind of left in the dust. That's what he thought.
All right.
And that was dark.
So grade for Rugrats, I chose S. Marcy?
I'll tie it with an A, honestly. I'll like go right in the middle at an A.
And I'll give it a B.
So it goes into A. Next one is Fanboy and Chum Chum. F.
Fanboy and Chum Chum, though.
No.
And I'm going to say this right now. So Nicktoons Network had this one show called Random Cartoons, which was similar to Oh Yeah. There were 2 shows that you wonder what was on there. Adventure Time was on there, as well as Bravest Warriors. And what happened was Nickelodeon rejected both of those shows many times, and yet they wanted Fanboy and Chum Chum. So that tells you what type of shows Nickelodeon was looking for.
This is the show that literally beat Adventure Time and Bravest Warriors on Nickelodeon. And
yes.
How? I kind of found it, there was like a 1 or 2 moment that was funny, but honestly, no, I did not like it. I don't hate it. It's just, it was not the greatest show.
They had like the buddy aspect of like your Ren and Stimpy, your angry, well, not your angry beavers, but your Ren and Stimpy, where there's a dysfunctional working together. And then so they're like, okay, well, we've done that before, but we don't have a show that's doing that right now. Then Jimmy Neutron was kind of wrapping up, so they're like, okay, well, we've done the 3D before, but we don't really have a show that's doing that right now. And they also were missing like a boys show, like for this younger audience, random core, like random YouTube videos where people would just yell like cheese or something like that. That was becoming popular. That was definitely out of my zone of media entertainment, but I feel like they were just hit all these notes that didn't go together.
Next show is Planet Sheen, the spinoff.
F.
I'm only gonna give it a D. That's my thing. It was a D. It had still some of the humor from Jimmy Neutron, but it was really saturated. So a D on that one for me.
What about you, Marcy?
I'll give it an F.
So going on F for that. Next up is Tough Puppy, which funny enough, Marcy is gonna fangirl over this. Jerry Trainer did Tough Puppy's voice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was him.
Okay.
I am going to give it a D. Like, it's not the worst show, but it's not really that good to me. I didn't like it. It's made by the same creator as Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. This is his third show.
Ooh, Bubs made it very clear that it was a project after iCarly.
Yes.
I would give it about a D.
Yeah, so D.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you have that. I just haven't.
It's mediocre.
It's next one is the Winx Club for Nicktoons. I did not watch the Nickelodeon version of the Winx Club. I saw the Fox Box version.
Same.
Yeah, because Nickelodeon owns the rights now. I've never seen it.
So I better not watch. The Kung Fu Panda series that was on Nickelodeon.
Never seen it.
I saw it. It was okay. It was about a D for me.
Yeah, I'd give it about a D.
Actually,
it was okay.
Actually, wait, no. Because that's me saying that the Kung Fu Panda was the same league as Back to the Barnyard. It was a lot better than Barnyard. I would give it at least a C.
I'd go up to C. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't grade it since I haven't seen it, so... I guess we'll go to C.
Legend of Korra. I would give it at least between an A and a B, honestly.
I'll give it from what I've seen of it, I'm gonna give it an A. Not as good as Last Airbender, but it was good on its own, in my personal opinion.
I say A.
So the reason why I'd give it an A is because Nickelodeon intentionally made Korra a lot more problematic than Aang. They intentionally did that. As opposed to Aang having to learn the 4 elements and learning how to be ferocious, Korra was already aggressive as it was and needed to learn how to zen down. She is, honestly, in terms of power, Korra does have a lot more ability than Aang. Because she can metal bend, for one. That's one thing that goes into it. She can metal bend. Aang can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly am tied between giving it an S and A. So I'm literally in between it. Only reason why. But it doesn't have the same oomph as The Last Airbender. That's the only reason why I would put it in A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to give it like an A+, honestly. So
yeah, that is also another point that Ink makes, that he is a kid compared to Korra, who is a teenager and everything.
Yeah.
But mind you, I had to give Korra an A because Aang's arc was already like set in stone, and the other characters around it actually had a better arc compared to the cast of Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
Like, I can still remember Zuko's arc. I can still remember Katara's arc, Toph's arc, Sokka's arc, Iroh's arc. I remember all of their arcs. I don't remember Mako having that much of character development besides being the Casanova who became a detective, who in turn actually became private security guard. But at the end of the day, it's like, I remember their stories more than I would Korra's stories. Bolin had a weird arc too, which I love Bolin still, but you know. Next one is Robot Monsters. I've never seen it.
Never seen it. I've actually never really heard of it until this.
Yeah.
Robot Monsters.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that came out in Nickelodeon.
Yes, this one is the best Ninja Turtles show I've ever seen. I'm putting it on S.
I am actually kind of happy to hear you say. I didn't think anyone else would say that. I thought I might think that because I saw this before I saw the older Mutant Ninja Turtles and kind of just watched the older ones to catch up. But
Yeah.
it's like it was like an A tier representation of what the
It is an A for me too.
Yeah, like I'm going with S. Like I felt they did a fantastic job at capturing the story, capturing the essence of how Ninja Turtles is. But since 2 people put A, it will go to A. But it's a really good show, and anyone who hasn't seen it, they should totally watch it.
Yeah. Mikon says the Fox version was an S though.
No, I would give that one an A.
So the next one is Monsters vs. Aliens, and it's another. We made a movie, and we decided to make the show now, and it was lackluster. It was an F for me.
I give it a D. Like, D because like in terms of animation, it's better than some of the worst shows Nickelodeon has, but it's still not that great. So I give it a D.
So, Marzy, D for you too?
I did say F. I did
All
say
right,
F.
so F for me. I also said F as well. Next one is Sanjay and Craig. That one I didn't watch it.
F. That show is so bad. Like, it doesn't even have a plot. It doesn't have anything with it. The animation is not that good. And yet they kept like pushing that show like it was the next big thing. It was trying to capture Ren and Stimpy, but it failed miserably.
Right? They were trying to do like the Cartoon Network, how they have like they're dark. It's like kids cartoons, but they're really kind of adult things. I feel like they were trying to go for that, and they just did not hit it. It was all over the place.
Well, now the better version of it, Ren and Stimpy.
A.
Yeah.
A. I'm sorry, it's unanimous. Ren and Stimpy was crazy.
I'll say this, that when the creator of Ren and Stimpy was kicked off the show, I felt, in my personal opinion, the show got better. And the thing is that the season 1 only had 6 episodes because the creator was so egotistical that he kept missing so many deadlines. There were times where I was wondering why there wasn't a new episode, and then I found out why later on. There were only 6 episodes in season 1. So season 2, Nickelodeon was having none of that, and sometime during the production of season 2, they kicked them off the show, and they took over the show.
All right, so we have 3 shows that I don't think we've seen. We have Breadwinners.
F. I've seen like an episode or 2 of it, and I'm like, no, I don't like this.
Marzy, have you seen this one?
I have not seen it.
I'm just gonna put it on the not watch because again, Harvey Beaks.
Never seen it.
Never
I've heard
seen
it's
it.
actually good.
It's not bad. It reminds me a little bit of the maybe it's Adventure Time, not Adventure Time. The one with the blue bird.
Regular show.
Regular show.
It reminded me a little bit of regular show. It had that energy to it.
So basically, like, they're their own show that's in that same energy. All right.
I've seen it. It is worth at least a D.
Okay. D.
It's at least worth a D.
I go D is fine with me though.
All right.
Want to be.
Next one is Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket. I've never seen it.
I don't even know what it is. Never seen it.
Marzy?
What is that?
So
I thought I was more up to snuff. Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket.
So not watched?
Yeah, not watched. Sorry.
This is
never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Oh, the Loud House. Now that's actually been very much like showing a lot of representation, and I do appreciate it.
I still have to watch it. I'm gonna put it on haven't watched because I still gotta watch it at some point. And that's gonna go for the spinoff it has, Casa Grandes. We'll get to that in a moment.
But I would give this at least a B.
I was gonna say B from what like the 6 episodes I've seen. I'd say B.
It's a B.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I saw a clip of the fact that they were on the Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, it's really decent, and also they're on Nickelodeon Racer too. Hi. Yep. Next one is Bunsen Beast. I've never seen it.
That's actually the worst show that that the creator, the same guy that made Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, and Tough Puppy, that's his worst show. F.
That one was pretty bad. I didn't like that at all.
F.
Next one is Welcome Wayne.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. Kid Danger.
Never
Just
seen it.
I have also never seen this. I'm a little bit more behind than I thought.
The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that came in 2020 version.
I still have to watch this. I've heard that it actually gets better later on, but I gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I haven't seen the 2021 yet.
So I'll have to put this on haven't watched.
All right, so I haven't seen the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles either. I do not. Oh, Pinky Make what?
What? Is it the one with that like the wiener?
Yeah, it's it's the wiener.
I've never seen that, but I saw that. I'm like, what the hell is this? Never seen it, so haven't watched.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. This is, by the way, the tier list is between us three. My cousin thing. It's just like, you know. Yeah, you're thinking. Yeah, you were thinking Kick Butowski. It's not that one. When it came to Kid Danger, it was not that one. Rocco's Modern Life.
Rocco's Modern Life is an S for me. My favorite Nickelodeon, my favorite Nicktoon of all time. S. That's what I have to go with.
It's an A for me.
Oh gosh, A.
Like, it's a really good show. Trust me, it deserves its spot in A or S. Honestly.
Everything is $5. Wait, turn the page. Wash your hands.
Turn.
S. I just
Yep,
S.
Yes,
thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I had to remember.
Real Monsters.
Oh, that was actually really decent.
It was decent.
I enjoyed it. I like the whole Monster Academy where they're learning how to get better at scaring. The Grumble is, like, in my opinion, one of the best parts about that show. But I'm gonna give it a B.
I'm gonna go B.
I'm gonna definitely go B, but it could easily land an A, honestly.
Yeah. I wouldn't contest it if it was on A though. But
so it really is a tie between A and B with All Real Monsters. It was decent. Yeah. It was great, and I'm changing my vote to A, but I think with both of you, it's also a B, so it also goes into B.
Sure.
All right. So next one is Kablam.
I give it an S.
C, because though the first season and the second season were great, but everything afterwards is like it was all over the place. I'm gonna give it a C.
I will give it a B, and with the average of an S, B, and C, it will go into B. So it was weird, but it was not bad, and I enjoyed it. Hey Arnold. S. I'm sorry, that's going up there. Hey Arnold was really great. However, I will say this, and I will be honest with you, it's hard to relate with Arnold's maturity at his age. That's the one thing that's the only thing that bothered me as a kid, because here's the thing. Arnold is way too mature for his age. He has more of a adult mentality as a kid when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, he's gotten upset before. We've seen it, but definitely still a thing. Because at the end of the day, the characters around him are also relatable and it counts. But at the same time, it's like, I still get bothered by the fact that he has the mentality of an adult because he is a kid.
His environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that made me sad when I rewatched it as an adult. When I was younger, I wanted to be mature like him, but I didn't understand why I was leaning towards that kind of morality. Like, yeah, he was a good guy. He did good things. But then rewatching it as I got older, I was like, oh, he has no, like, you see him longingly he's looking at the sky. He wants to play. He sees, like, even the papers blowing catches his attention. He's always tied up in some sort of responsibility. And it really struck me how much he was a product of his environment in, like, that middle city New York area.
I mean, as a New Yorker, I can say.
Exactly, right?
Exactly. Next show is Angry Beavers.
Okay, so I gave Angry Beavers an A. Fun show.
I went B for it, honestly, because it was okay, but it was really you know, it was okay.
I had a hard time relating to the environment outside of the beaver den, the lodge. When they move it to the forest or to the town, I was like, I don't really care about this anymore.
Like, I'm between B and A, honestly.
And it's like the show had a finale that Nickelodeon refused to air.
That's actually why I got mad with the show. I wanted the finale and we never got it.
Yeah, Nickelodeon, like, they had this thing where you're not supposed to acknowledge that the show is ending. It's stupid.
It's still not out there? Like, you still can't see it?
Nope.
There's an audio for it, but the animation does not exist, at least to our knowledge.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna give this an A. It's a good show, and I hate the fact that we never got our finale, which I feel screwed out of. All right, we're up to our last two shows. The first one, Cat Dog.
Cat Dog. I'm gonna give it a B.
I'm about to give it a B as well. Technically, I'm between B and A.
I'm a C, so I'll let y'all have this one. I understand. It weirded me out a bit.
So we have a C. Wait, you two said C?
I said C.
Marsy said C. Shell, what about you for Cat Dog?
Cat Dog B.
And I'm on a B as well. And last but not least, Casa Grandes.
Haven't seen it.
I've seen a few episodes of it. It's actually pretty decent.
It's not bad. I'd probably put that up on a B, a more modern B.
More modern B.
Yeah. I actually had one more, like, when I did mine, and the last one they had was the Angelica and Susie's preschool days.
That only had 4 episodes, though.
I did not like any of it.
I didn't either. They already represented how their dynamic was in that school episode on the 8th season. That was really good already.
They didn't need to do that. So I would have given it an F.
And that's our tier list, guys. In our S, we have Invader Zim. Actually, let's do it from the beginning. We have not watched Making Fiends, Winx Club, Robot Monsters, Breadwinners, Pig, Goat, Banana Cricket, Welcome Wayne, Kid Danger, The New Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and MK. Wiener Case, as we like to call it.
That's even a show. I don't even know what that is.
In our F tier, we have Cat Scratch, Fanboy and Chum Chum, Planet Sheen, Monsters vs. Aliens, Sinjay and Craig, and Bunsen Beast.
Love you, Chum Chum.
D, we have The Fairly Odd Parents, The X's, Tack and the Power of Juju, Back to the Barnyard, Tough Puppies, and Harvey Beaks. In C, we have Rocket Power, Chalk Zone, All Grown Up, Mighty B, and Kung Fu Panda. In B, we have a smorgasbord. We have The Wild Thornberrys, SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, El Tigre, The Penguins of Madagascar, The Loud House, All Real Monsters, Kablam, Cat Dog, and Casa Grandes. Mm-hmm. And A, we have As Told by Ginger, The Life of a Teenage Robot, Doug, Rugrats, The Legend of Korra, The New Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 2016, Ren and Stimpy, and The Angry Beavers. And finally, in S rank, we have Invader Zim, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Rocko's Modern Life, and Hey Arnold.
Yep.
These were definitely the pinnacles of our childhoods, and Tim Curry should have pushed Thornberrys to an A, in my honest opinion. That is fair.
That's the argument, right?
Yeah, that is definitely
that was the argument. But I will say, thank you guys for joining me for this beautiful nostalgia bomb of Nickelodeon. I just remembered a lot of things about the show and everyone else here. So you guys were amazing. And if you're not following these guys, you totally should. When we go into it, we have MarsyTheMartian, who is an awesome artist and actually made this whole overlay. So we literally have Marsy to thank for when it comes to this over. I love how both of the clips are the same in the middle.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, that's amazing. We just have the same clips. And if you're also not following Shell Shock Prime, please do. He's another cool gamer who also plays a lot of retro games too, which I say he's my rival when it comes to retro games, but at the same time, we also are really good at this stuff. And we love these things. So if you're not following Shell Shock Prime, also give him a check out. Any final thoughts on this?
Yes, I have one. I was literally just typing final thought out in the chat. Nick News was dope, changed my life, made me a different kind of person, kept me aware.
Yes.
Linda Eller is still my hero. She deserves every award she got. What she went through in her life was absolutely horrible, but she never went through any injustices and actually ended up owning her own production company and now still speaks out about cancer and feminism and body autonomy. And I love you, Linda Ellerby.
Yes, I agree with you. Well, Legends of Nintendo is the best Nickelodeon game show there is. I also love this one show that many people may watch at 6 a.m. Mr. Wizard. Brilliant show. Like it's science. Brilliant show. I also, if I had to say anything else, I love the Slime Time Live, where all the kids will get slimed. Not to mention when you would see like all these weird shows that they would experiment with shorts. Oh, and as a matter of fact, remember all those shorts with all those sports cartoons?
No, not off the top of my head.
Well, they used to have those in between like commercials and when the next show is going to start. They would have like a bunch of these shorts, like sports cartoons. They would air them every once in a while. Wild and Crazy Kids, yeah, that's a great show. Nickelodeon to me meant so much. It actually defined me as a person. It was one of those things where I had like, because growing up, that was actually the very first channel I've ever watched when I started watching TV, Nickelodeon. My parents just put it on and say, hey, Peter, Nickelodeon. And there we go. So I've been watching and I just got into it. I fell in love with the channel and it's amazing. It meant so much to me. So many shows molded me into who I am. And here we are now. Yep. The heart of Nickelodeon right in my heart.
All right. And my final thoughts on this is, yeah, I love Nickelodeon to a T. I remember everything that's going on. And honestly, I'm excited that we got a chance to enjoy this. And as always, guys, this is Hitoretrogaming, always spreading the 8-bit love. So, 8-bit love, everyone. Have an awesome rest of your night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.